Hello and welcome back to the Watford Way and the Watford versus Derby County match reactions. Today I'm joined by Finn once again, and we're going to be reacting to Watford 2, Derby 1, another win for the Golden Boys. 3 wins in a row, Finn. First of all, how good does it feel to win 3 games in a row? And we are playing quite well at the moment. So what was it like finally getting into some good form?
It feels very good. It's not like last time we got 3 wins in a row and we were sort of papering over the cracks with crappy performances and just getting the 3 points with a Deeney penalty or own goal or something. Feels good.
Yeah, it feels good, and I echo that. And I think that the change to this 4-3-3 formation, especially in the last 3 games, has really benefited us. And obviously, we need to touch on the game before we go into individual details. But I think we're going to start off with the first goal. And I thought in the first half, I thought Watford largely dominated it. I wouldn't say we were the dominant team, but I thought we were playing better than Derby in that first half. And the first goal did come courtesy of João Pedro. But before we talk about João Pedro, Finn, I want to talk about that run by Ismaila Sarr, because the pace he showed then was ridiculous. And I think he must be the fastest player in the Championship, because he started off behind the Derby defender. And I didn't think he was going to get past him. And then about 4 seconds later, he whizzed past him, crossed into the box, and João Pedro, kind of come off the back of his heel. But, who cares? We take what we can get. So how pleased were you to see Sarr getting the assist and João Pedro obviously scoring once again?
Very, because I think they're definitely, probably not by a mile, but they are probably our 2 best players. And seeing them both playing well is good. And I think João Pedro might be coming into form where he just can't stop scoring. I think the commentators mentioned it when the game was going on. They said some strikers just go through patches of form where they physically can't stop scoring even if they tried. And I think especially with Ismaila Sarr as well, we've not really seen the best of him this season, but to see him getting into good form again, it's positive things.
These positive things, and yeah, it come off João Pedro's heel, and I don't think he really knew that it went in. But obviously, we do take that, and I think it was 1-0 up after about 18 minutes or so, and then a couple of minutes later, Finn, we did score again, and that was through Will Hughes. Now, Will Hughes isn't really renowned for his goal scoring ability, but he did finish it into the bottom corner. I thought it was a really good finish, and credit to Chalabar as well in the build up to that, because he did like a little cheeky back heel, went into Hughes' feet, and Hughes kind of just curled it into that bottom left-hand corner. Again, like João Pedro, how good was it to see Will Hughes scoring? And what are your thoughts on Will Hughes in this formation? Because this 4-3-3 formation that we switched to, obviously Troy Deeney is now out injured, so we haven't got to play that hoofball that we've become known for in recent times. So in terms of Will Hughes, do you think that this system benefits him much more than that 4-4-2 we were playing? Because Xisco, he wasn't really utilising him as he should. He was playing him out wide at times. That's obviously not his natural position as a central midfielder. So how do you think Will Hughes is performing in this formation at the moment? And how pleased were you again to see him get another goal for us?
Very pleased. I think everyone knows that Hughes can play in any of the midfield roles. He can play attacking, box to box, and defensive. And I think this 4-3-3 gives him a lot more freedom to do whatever he wants, essentially. Because if you look at the 3 players in our midfield, they can all do it. Bar maybe Chalobah. I wouldn't put him in attacking midfielder,
No.
but Cleverley can play in all 3. Hughes can play in all 3. I just think it gives them all of them a lot more freedom.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think out of them midfield 3 that started, you got obviously Will Hughes, Nathaniel Chalobah, and Tom Cleverley, who I know you're a big fan of him. I think Will Hughes is the most creative out of the 3 of them. And yeah, I was really pleased to see him get another goal, because he obviously scored in the fixture before, although it was a deflected shot, but we'll let him have that goal. We got to half time, largely unthreatened by Derby, I would say. They had a couple of chances. I wouldn't say they were clear cut. I think there was one guy who tried to lob down Backman, but he had that under control. A couple of shots from outside the box, but nothing that really threatened us. So we got to half time, Finn. And if you were Xisco in a dressing room at half time, what would you be saying to the players? We're obviously 2-0 up in the game. Relatively comfortable. Derby not really threatening us. So what would your message be to the players, and what would you tell them to do in the second half? Would you say, sit back, defend the lead? Or would you say, you know what, guys, go out like we did against Bristol City and get us another couple of goals and put the game to bed?
I think If it was like a normal, if it was in the Premier League and it was Saturday to Saturday, I'd say more of the same, please. I'd want more. But because it was the third game in 6 days, I actually said it in the match preview. I said we'll get 1 or 2 in the first half, and then we'll look fatigued.
Can I stop you right there, because you did actually get the score prediction right in your match preview. You did guess 2-1. It was 2-1. So yeah, carry on. Sorry, I just had to bring that up there.
Yeah, I think fatigue did come into it. I think that's probably why the loss of concentration is probably caused us to concede, because it wasn't a very good goal to concede, was it? It was an own goal. I mean, there's nothing he could really do about it as soon as the cross had come in. But I think we could have done better to keep.
That was Troost-Ekong, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think there was much he could have done when the cross had come in, but I think we could have done more to stop the cross coming in. I would have been saying more of the same, but if you know how you feel, if you're fatigued and you need to sit back, just let everyone know, and there's no point risking an injury.
Yeah, I think before we move on to the second half, I'm glad you brought up the fatigue issue, because in terms of the team selection when we went into the game, Finn, I was a little bit surprised actually at the lack of rotation that Xisco showed. We pretty much started with the same team. So I'll quickly run through the team for obviously no one who knows the team already, but I'm sure you all do watching the video. So it was obviously Dan Bachmann in goal, and it was Adam Messina. So he started 3 games in a row. And then a little bit different at centre back, we had Craig Cathcart, didn't we? And William Troost-Ekong. And then right back was Kiko Femini as usual. Centre midfield, as usual, was Cleverley, Hughes, and Chalobah. And the front 3 again wasn't rotated. No one was dropped. It was Sema, Pedro, and Sarr. So Finn, do you think that's something that Xisco needs to work on in terms of his game management, maybe? Because obviously he's quite new into management. And in terms of playing 3 games in 6 days, that does take quite a physical toll, on the players, on the players in general. So do you think that maybe we need to see a bit more rotation going forward, especially in them front 3 positions and central midfield? Because arguably centre midfield is the most important player on the pitch. Do you think we need to see a bit more rotation going forward?
Yeah, I do. I think it's down to his lack of experience, like you said. I can't think about why he'd rotate the strongest part of our team. I understand that Serralta's been incredible this season and probably did deserve a rest. But if you're going to rotate one player, why him? You look at Chalobah, who's 1 yellow card away from missing 2 games. You look at Cleverley, doesn't stop running. You look at Hughesy, he also doesn't stop running. I'm not saying they should have been dropped, but I think they deserved a bit more rest, maybe a half instead of the full 90. And I think all season, SARS, every game he's been fit, he's played the full 90 or something like that. And I think when we've got Zinkernagel on the bench, I don't think SAR's the sort of player to throw a hissy fit if he's dropped for fitness. And same with Ken Sema. I don't think Sema had his best game against Derby, and I don't blame him. I blame the fact that we've played 3 games in 6 days. And João Pedro, he's young. He's got the tenacity, I think that's the right word. He wants to play every game, and the Brazilian league is probably nearly as condensed as a championship. So I think he's probably used to it. So if I wanted to see anyone rested, I'd probably say the midfield 3 and Ismaila Sarr.
Yeah, totally agree with you. And let us know your thoughts in the comments, everybody, because I think Finn's really hit the nail on the head there that we do need to see a bit more rotation going forward. But we'll leave that for now and we'll move on to the second half, Finn. And in terms of Watford, it was quite an uneventful second half. We did have some chances to put the game to bed, to go 3-0 up, but we never really took them. And I thought Derby County, as the game went on, especially into them last 10 minutes, really grew into the game. And obviously, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, they did score, albeit it was from a Watford own goal. Do you really think that William Troost-Ekong could have done anything with that? Because I thought it was a really good, whips delivery into the box. If William Troost-Ekong didn't get a touch on it, the Derby player next to him would have tapped it in the back of the net anyway. So he did have to try and do something, Troost-Ekong. So was there really anything he could have done about that, or was it just, him being unlucky and ultimately ended in an own goal?
I think it was unlucky. I think his starting position wasn't good. You shouldn't be, as a centre back myself, you shouldn't be facing the goal as the cross comes in, and that's what he was doing it, and that gives you little chance of clearing it. you need to be facing away from, not facing away, but maybe side on to the goal, so you can see the ball, see the goal, see the player. And I think, but yes, he was unlucky. As once the ball had come in and he was in his position he was in, there was not really anything he could do about it. He had to get something on it. I think in the Premier League it would have been disallowed because the striker was slightly offside, but we're not in the Premier League and VAR isn't a thing. So yeah, I think he was unlucky.
Yeah, I think so, and I think everyone would agree with you in the comments actually that there wasn't really anything he could have done about that. But as you say, his positioning maybe could have been better. Obviously, if he was facing the other way, he would have been able to just kick it clear up the field, and we wouldn't be talking about an own goal. But you know, we did win the game in the end, so let's not touch on that too much. And yeah, towards the end of the game, last 5 minutes, Finn, what were you thinking? Because I thought Derby looked so threatening. Their set piece delivery, they got balls into the box. I thought Dan Bachman didn't really do himself any glory in that second half, especially when trying to command his box. I don't think he's like Ben Foster where he comes flying out. He's a little bit more reserved. So what was your thoughts on Dan Bachman's performance specifically and how he dealt with them balls into the box?
I think he was a bit shaky, but I think most keepers would have been. Them Derby corners were, I don't think there was actually, no, the first one wasn't very good, but every single one came in the 6-yard box, caused problems for the defenders and goalkeeper. I think there was one near the end where Dan Bachman actually had to save it directly from the corner. And I think he mouthed "wow" and everyone watching the game could see it. Well, that was quite funny. But yeah, I don't think he did himself any favours. You've got to be coming out commanding them. Take the man. If you hit someone, you hit someone. Oh no. You can fix a broken nose. You can't fix a 3-point loss.
Yeah, exactly. And look, we did ultimately go on to win the game. Sorry, look, my hair's a little bit of a mess here. Yeah, we did ultimately go on to win the game 2-1. Really happy with that. As I mentioned earlier, 3 wins in a row. So that's really positive for us. There is one more person that I want to touch on before we finish off today, Finn. And again, it's quite controversial again in the Watford fan base at the moment, I believe anyway. I think there's a lot of mixed opinions about his playing style, and you can probably guess who I'm talking about, and that is Philip Zinkernagel, who did come onto the pitch. We've seen him quite a few times now. He has played, a few more minutes than he originally did. He started against Manchester United, and we have seen him a bit more in the Championship now. Got a goal the other day, but I thought against Derby, he caused more problems than he solved, and giving the ball away on the edge of our own box, being quite weak to the challenge. And I just don't think his general physicality is up to scratch at the moment. And I think that's something he needs to work on in the Championship and in English football specifically. And I think Xisco might actually have a point now about bedding him into the league. Because from what I've seen of him so far, he's obviously got the quality on the ball. He's got good set piece delivery. He's a good passer of the ball. But I just don't think he's really up to standard at the moment. So what's your thoughts on Philip Zinkernagel so far at Watford, Finn?
I think a similar thing happened with Ismaila Sarr at the start of the season. I think he said in an interview that the physicality of the league surprised him. And he said he took responsibility, which is what Zinkernagel has to do. Otherwise, we are going to end up with another Steven Berghaus. It will happen eventually if he doesn't, I don't want to say bulk up, but he needs to toughen up.
Toughen up. I think that's the right word, yeah.
Yeah. Because if he doesn't, we're going to end up giving him 10 minutes till the end of time every game. And we're never going to see him start another game for Watford. And when he does, he'll get bullied. He needs to toughen up if he wants to be serious in this league. He was he was in the top 5 most creative players in the league, in Europe. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, basically Europe is the world because Europe is the centre of football. So he was essentially top 5. I think was that through 2020. His goals and assists. He was in that top 10 list. I think it was, wasn't it? And yeah, I mean, for us to have a player like that who is one of the most creative players in Europe, and to see what we've seen from him so far, I'm a little bit shocked. But I've still got that feeling in my head that he just needs to start more games, Finn. And I think that when Philip Zinkernagel does start more games for Watford, I think we will see, what he can actually offer. Just lastly on him, where do you think his best position is on the pitch? Because at his previous club, he actually did play out wide, especially on the right. That was his favourite position. I'd quite like to see Philip Zinkernagel in our centre midfield 3 as a more attacking player. And that comes into rotation, doesn't it? If we want to be resting players and bring players in. We've got a really, really talented player there in Philip Zinckernagel. Would you maybe rest him for a Chalobah or a Hughes in our next game against Blackburn Rovers? Because we do need to rotate.
I think yes, but I wouldn't. I'd see him as just behind the striker. I wouldn't see him as a midfielder because I don't think he's the sort of player that's going to get back, get stuck into challenges. I think we've seen that already this season. I'd see him as a just behind the striker, not a attacking midfielder.
So you'd see him more as rather than playing in a midfield three, you'd probably see him as a number 10 who's a lot more advanced and playing just behind that striker to maybe playing through balls. Is that what you're kind of suggesting there?
Yeah, but I do think that might leave the midfield a little bit exposed, which could lead to Summer and Saar being dragged further deep. So I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it's just about getting that. It's just about getting that balance right. Ultimately, at the end of the day, and yeah, I think that pretty much sums up. It's Watford versus Derby County match review. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Finn and I really enjoy making these, so make sure to hit like on the video, comment your thoughts, and obviously subscribe to the channel. The link to Finn's page is also in the description below on this video, so make sure you go and give him a follow over on Instagram. Finn, before you go, we do play Blackburn Rovers next. Hopefully, I can convince you to come on and do the preview for that with me as well. But we do play them on Wednesday. What are you expecting from that game? And obviously, I don't expect you to know a lot about Blackburn Rovers, but are you expecting, from a Watford perspective, to see some rotation now that we have secured them 3 wins in a row? You know, we do have players on the bench: Paritza, Gray, Zinckernagel, Lazar, Wilmot. We've got plenty of depth on the bench now. Is it time we finally see a bit more rotation in that team? You know, 4 or 5 changes to the starting lineup. What are your thoughts on that?
I think yes. I think we need to. If we don't, we're just going to get played off the park. My biggest fear is it'll go back to January and we'll have it started with a good win, 2 more decent wins, and then a draw, a loss, and another draw, and then Xisco's under pressure again, isn't he? So I think he needs to be brave, Xisco. He needs to drop some players and rest them and give them a bit of time to. They're not robots. They are humans. They do need sleep.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it like dropping the players.
Yeah.
I just think because largely in the last 3 games they've actually done nothing wrong. It's just more resting them up. And as you say, they're not robots. They can't play a game every couple of games forever, and they do need some rest. So yeah, totally agree with you there. Finn, thank you very much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. No problem. And you catch us for more Watford content very, very soon. And as you said just a second ago, we'll be back very shortly with your Blackburn Rovers versus Watford preview. So again, Finn, thank you very much for coming on, and we'll catch you all in the next video. Bye-bye.